Welcome to the Early Childhood Job Interview. Please start out by telling me about your experiences working with young children.
So I've had a lot of experiences working with young children. I started out by subbing for various locations, and I worked with children birth through eighth grade. Following my subbing, I became a preschool teacher, and following being a preschool teacher, I became a director and administrator of a school that served children preschool through eighth grade. And then I kind of found that my heart wasn't necessarily in the office, but it was with teaching specifically. So now I am back teaching pre-kindergartners.
Tell me about how you utilize developmentally appropriate practices.
I utilize developmentally appropriate practices by making sure that my activities and my lesson plans are teaching the children different things that are developmentally appropriate. So, by making sure that what I'm teaching is developmentally appropriate, I strictly follow the Illinois Early Learning Standards to make sure that not only I'm building my activities off of those skills, but to make sure that I'm preparing the children for kindergarten. So, I look at each skill, each benchmark, and then I build different activities around that to make sure that they are developmentally appropriate for each child and their age level.
What are some ways that you educate the whole child?
So I educate the whole child by creating individualized lesson plans for each child. So each week I try to assess and observe each specific child. I look at what they're really excelling at, I look at what they're struggling with, and then I build my lesson plans around that. So I'll build my lesson plans around specifically what one child is really struggling with, and then I'll look at another child is really excelling with, and I'll try to incorporate both activities into my weekly lesson plan so that I'm working to focus on the developmental needs of each specific child and then the whole child. So building on what they love, building on what they're struggling with, and then working with them individually and helping them to have an environment where they can work on each developmental domain and all of their skills.
Tell me about how you use observation and assessment in planning for children. Give an example of how you have done this in your lesson planning.
So I use observation and assessment to once again create my individualized lesson plans. I observe and assess the children all the time to make sure that what I'm teaching them is relevant to where they are developmentally. And that kind of goes back to utilizing developmentally appropriate practices, just making sure that we're working on skills where the children are at. We're not pushing them, forward too much, but we're kind of focused on exactly where they're at and working with each, whole child. So, specific example of that is I had a child who was really struggling with comprehension, which is a skill that they should be having around 5 years old, able to comprehend some things from a story and then recite them back afterwards. And he was really struggling with this. So I worked on creating some different activities that were reading a story together, working on group discussions. And then him and I would do some one on one things where we would read a story together and then I would ask him a set of questions. And then we even started, let's read the story and then you're going to draw a picture for me. And he eventually got really, really good at that. And now he's actually starting to see himself as a reader. He's going into our book nook section, looking at different books, trying to figure out what the pictures mean, figure out what could be on the page. So I'm really pleased with his progress.
Please describe how you would include diversity in all children in your setting.
So I include diversity in all children in my setting by encouraging the parents and families to be involved. Um, First of all, I have the parents, I encourage them to bring some things from home at the beginning of the year for the children to have to place around the classroom to make them feel more at home. So maybe it's a empty box of rice that I can place into our housekeeping center, or maybe it's a special toy that they really love, or a set of blocks that we can put into our block area, just working to help them make them feel at home. Then I also have a cultural month where I have the parents come in and volunteer to come in and share about their culture. A lot of the parents bring little props and different things that they can send home with the children so that the other families know that they've come in and know that they've been working on their culture and learning about that. And then I also read a lot of different cultural books, and then talk about diversity within the classroom. And for social studies, we learn about different regions every couple weeks, so that helps the children kind of see how other people live. And then we also just kind of talk about how everybody is unified. And then I also at Thanksgiving time like to have a Thanksgiving feast where the parents can bring in their favorite dish. It should be a cultural dish, and then they get to share it with the other children and families, and everybody really seems to love that.
Please tell me about the importance of family, community, and relation-based care, and an example of how you've done this in your work.
So, family, community, and relation-based care is really important to me, and important to what I do. So I'm constantly working on building a positive environment for the children, for the families, and even for the extended families, where everyone feels comfortable coming into the classroom, everyone feels comfortable coming into the school, and everyone feels kind of comfortable speaking with me. And communicating, to better their child. I think it's really important to make sure that every children has a support system and they know that they have a team out there. They know that they have people that care for them and people that want them to succeed. So I'm constantly encouraging the parents, the siblings, the extended families to come in. They can come in and work with children. We do a little tactile project where, like for letter T, the children were gluing on toothpicks. So they can come in, they can help out with our tactile letters. On Fridays, I invite families to come in, and they can be a mystery reader. So they knock on the door and it's a big surprise. And then we have the child answer the door and their parent comes in to share a story. A lot of siblings are really interested in this. A lot of the older siblings feel really accomplished that they can read and they get excited to come in and share it with the other children. And then I also ask a lot of experts from the community to come in and speak about specific things. So, for example, we're learning about safety, and we had a firefighter come in and speak to the classroom about safety. So this just kind of helps each child to know that they have a support system. They have, people who care about them, and that way, they have positive relationships within their care.
How do you think the whole environment is a factor in a child's education?
The whole environment is a factor in the child's education because it should be them to make them feel safe, to make them feel secure, to make them feel comfortable, and to make them feel like they can learn and they can succeed. So the environment needs to have opportunities for learning for every child, no matter where they're at. So going back to my individualized lesson plans, I take this. Every 2 weeks and incorporate that into what I place in my centers around the classroom. So, for example, I had a child who was really struggling with fine motor. So I made sure that in one of my centers I placed tweezers that they could use, and they were picking up pom poms and dropping them into a little box. So just creating an environment where every child can learn, every child can feel safe, every child can feel comfortable, and every child can kind of feel that at home feeling.
Describe how guidance and interactions are used in early childhood.
So guidance and interactions are used in early childhood to make the child feel comfortable and to kind of teach the child. So I really believe in positive interactions, positive guidance. It's so important, especially those first few weeks of school, that we are teaching the children how to communicate, how to be positive, and to help them feel like they're kind of at home and they're in a homey environment and they can feel safe and they can feel secure and they can communicate with us and they can communicate with other students as well. And then building off of that, just using positive guidance techniques. I don't believe in timeout. I believe in teaching the children, how to solve their problems. So working with them, even on a one-on-one, and as a whole group, just working on, okay, if we have this problem, this is how we're going to solve it. So making sure that we're teaching them and we're not ever making them feel like they have to teach themselves. So just creating that bond, that nurturing environment, and helping each child succeed is very important to me.
Please describe how you utilize licensing, policies, standards, or procedures in your settings.
So we have specific policies that we need to follow, constantly since we are DCFS licensed and then we are NEPCA accredited. So we're constantly working to make sure that we're maintaining our license, to make sure that we're on top of all of our DCFS licensing standards, to make sure that we're keeping every child safe, to make sure that we're using, their tools and their different sets of guidelines that we have to follow. To make sure that we're having that positive, safe environment for each child. And then building on that, we have professional development meetings every couple of weeks so that we can talk and we can communicate together and work to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're meeting these guidelines. And then even building on that, going to different trainings, conferences, and then maintaining our hours of professional development that is required.
Tell me some ways that you use professionalism as an early childhood professional.
So I use professionalism as an early childhood professional by making sure that I am, communicating professionally with parents, with families, with staff members. So just making sure that we have that kind of parent-teacher relationship, not anything more, not anything less. Making sure that I'm always in dress code. Making sure that I have positive staff relationships. So making sure that I'm communicating with my staff in a positive way, and then encouraging the staff to communicate with each other in a positive way as well. And then obviously all coming together as a group and all working together to just really make sure that we put the child first.
What are some ways that you can advocate for children and families?
So I can advocate for children and families by first creating a welcoming environment, creating a safe environment, and a secure environment for families, siblings, and children in my classroom. I can also work to share information with them that I've learned along the way, or professional information that I have that can maybe help them. So through doing that, also by participating in different volunteer groups, and speaking out with the community. And attending, teacher conferences, and then I myself am a volunteer member of CASA, which is an organization in my county that works with foster children, and they send volunteers out to make sure that every child in the foster home has someone that they can feel comfortable with, communicate with, and making sure that they understand them. So just advocating for each child and each family by really speaking out, and making sure that every voice is heard.
Finally, do you have anything else that you'd like to share that would help us make a decision to hire you?
So, to help you make a decision to hire me, I would like to share that I am just very passionate about what I do. I love children. I work so hard to make sure that each child feels safe, secure, and feel that they're in a nurturing environment. Making sure that I'm working as hard as I can, to make sure that they're happy and to make sure that they can succeed. I think I have very strong parent communication skills. I work with each family really individually to make sure that their child is able to succeed and have a successful educational career. I'm just very honored to be such a large part of every child's growth and development.